Yosa, CEO of Ketone, and this is Steve Zarpas, co-founder. And today we're talking to Daniel Holloway.
Hey guys.
You've tried it a few times, once in practice, once at a race, and then most recently at your at the Tulsa Tough race, I believe, right?
Correct.
So let's start. How did it end?
Yeah, this latest time at Tulsa Tough, I won the day. I think pretty handedly. Had a really good sprint. Easily one of the best sprints I've had, this year as far as power numbers and performance goes. So really happy to have that performance. Previous races and stuff, I just haven't been able to hit that big number at the end of a race, which is important for what I do. So a lot of exciting things happened this weekend for me.
Yeah, so you definitely took the Ketone Ester. You'd taken it a couple times before, and I believe one of the times we took it too close to the actual event itself. And can you talk a little bit about how that went or didn't go well?
Yeah, it didn't go too great. We tried using, a drink that had a lot of carbohydrate in it. That's carbonated, and topped it off with the Ketone Ester within 15 minutes of the start. And it was kind of a hot day and, really hard from the get-go. So it didn't settle that well.
We never want to see that, but you said earlier that you sometimes have to stay with no food for 2 or 3 hours. So if you would have, that could have been the carbs, that could have been, if you had eaten any fries or anything. So, who knows what that's from. So it's good that we, changed the protocol, moved it much earlier in the day. And I think we got it right for you. We actually reduced the amount by 30% as well.
Yeah.
So
So I think total volumes was down for this latest time. And even the last time I had the GI distress, the next day I had a really great performance-wise of feeling fresh and being able to put really good power out, the next day following the race. So I don't think it was a complete wash in the sense of, wasn't effective at all.
But now that we got the variables correct, how did your day start? You said something about a massage and feeling kind of heavy.
Yeah, I'd had a hip problem going on. So I had some body work done to try to get things loosened up and moving. And, typically we shy away from some deep adjustments and things like that day of race as you're, just reconnecting the chain and everything like that. So I was definitely kind of flat feeling in the first, half, 75% of the race. And, that was just my legs kind of feeling heavy and not, just light and fresh like they would normally feel or anything like that. But it wasn't like I was physically struggling. It's just that sensation that the legs were heavy. I wasn't, losing the wheel or, having any sort of those problems in the race.
Okay. How did it feel at the beginning as far as motivation to start the race? And, did you get any of that zone feeling that people feel, controlled excitement?
Yeah. I mean, like Tulsa does that to me just in general.
Okay. Yeah. So then nothing.
But I've added, been more strict on my warm-up routine and things like that. And, definitely was, in the moment and, focused on the task at hand that I had to get there and get a result done. So that was very nice to, have everything just really play out and be focused, and was really sharp, the whole day, and didn't have to get caught up in any of the crashes that happened or get myself in any bad situations there.
All right. And so how long is the race generally? About an hour?
That one was 80 minutes.
Oh, okay. And did you find that there were several surges, and then after the surge, you've got to balance your recovery for the next one? How do you strategize there?
There was a point about 20 minutes in, I think, where a dangerous breakaway was up the road, 25 seconds. And I had to close it myself, and I did it, in a lap and a half. So, 2 minute, it was a big 2-minute effort thereabouts. And, it didn't take me that long to recover, to think about needing to go again, or it wasn't like I was in a big hole and had to be really patient. It was, I was ready to race again or be back in the front of the race if I needed to be shortly after that big effort.
And no breathing issues as far as VO2 max and, getting that top breath. That was good because you had enough carbs.
Yeah, no, everything breathing wise, it was very smooth. As looking at my power file and everything like that, my heart rate was 10 beats lower on average than normal for that duration.
Yeah,
So
let's
that
talk about that.
was really
I
interesting.
saw you put on Twitter that your stats were, a number that you'd never seen before or unusual. What was your heart rate different?
Yeah, I can just have a quick peek at it. But normally my heart rates in these crits fluctuate between 162 to 167 on average for a 60 to 80 minute race. And if I remember correctly off the top of my head, the average for this particular race was low 150s, 154, 153, I believe.
Wow.
So that's quite a bit difference, and really, really nice to have. That just means there's a bigger gap in being able to go to a really high heart rate for an effort and then come back down and recover well.
Do you have any thoughts on the low heart rate?
Your heart was just beating more efficiently, more powerfully. So rather than having to go faster, each beat was more efficient, pumping out more higher pressure, more blood.
Yeah.
So then at the end of the race, when you decided to make a move, how do you normally feel as far as lactic acid buildup? And, obviously you got the adrenaline running already, but apart from adrenaline, how did it feel? And were other people, trying to follow and not able to, or you just kind of went past them without them even having a chance to react?
The last few laps typically are very surgy, and if I don't have a full team to do what we call a lead out, me just being able to sit in the draft perfectly, I have to do a lot of micro accelerations that add up significantly at the end of 75 minutes. But that day I was able to move up and move around with ease and recover well, that I could get myself from 15th position to 5th position easy, and then it wasn't detrimental. Those efforts didn't add up. So by the time we got to the last lap and I was able to get myself into position, I wasn't already in a state of bother to not have fresh legs for the sprint like we saw. So by the time that I was able to start my sprint, I was more or less as fresh as I could be for that situation, which
Right.
was quite a nice feeling to have.
Awesome. Well, hopefully we'll be able to recreate this again. And how was your recovery for the rest of the day? And then, the following morning, how did that normally feel? And then how did it feel this time?
Yeah, I mean, with the late nights at these races, we don't always get the best opportunity for sleep and timing and stuff. But even with the 7.5 hours that I got, I woke up the next day ready to go and motivated to get things done and get back in my routine as quickly as possible. And there was not too much residual soreness or anything like that, which is nice because coming from altitude all the time, being in Boulder, Colorado, and racing at sea level, having that much more oxygen to work with, typically we get sore pretty quickly the first few days.
Right.
You just can have bit more muscle activation. So I didn't really have that feeling this trip around, which is quite nice to have.
Wow. And when was the last time you won a race that was this competitive?
It's been a while. With my injuries and my concussion
Right.
earlier this year, it wasn't until late last summer that I had kind of success at this level nationally. So
Okay.
quite pleased with it.
Let's talk about the psychology of the race. Like, did the fact that Australians show up, would that normally be a cause of concern, like guys you haven't raced against?
It definitely plays a little bit of a factor. I mean, the Australians were at the same race last year, and I ended up beating them, last year. So it's always an X factor when internationals come to the races and you don't have an idea of who they are, what their racing style is. So I have to be sharp and attentive to what they're racing, and try to give my best guess on what their strategy is going to be, and kind of look at them physically. Okay, that guy is a climber, that guy's a sprinter, and try to put the pieces together as they race on who they're going to end up working for at the end of these races and how things are going to play out. So I've got, you know, 50 years of experience with, you know, new guys that I've never known before coming racing and adapting as the races go on.
Well, the reason I brought it up is Adam Sansarillo, the motorcycle racer, said one of the most striking aspects of the ketone ester was at the start of the race, normally he has butterflies and his mind is racing. He said, it just felt calm. I felt confident, and that it was a marked difference. So I'm just wondering, if you see a bunch of guys show up that maybe you don't know, would that possibly get in your head and cause you to have butterflies? Compare that with and without ester.
No, like for me, I rarely get nervous, kind of for this, you know, these races. I've fortunately been, you know, successful at this venue before, so it's not, you know, that stuff is not new to me. And I don't always look at my competitors to be nervous. I look at the event itself and what the energy and everything else that makes me nervous, my own personal expectations. So luckily for this one, I was kind of a free roll and didn't have that much expectations on what I could or couldn't do. And it was wide open for me to perform. So that was very nice. But you know, with some upcoming races, I think there's going to be some more butterflies that are going to happen with the pressure to perform coming up. So it would be interesting to see how it feels.
Have you ever tried any other supplement or food that has done anything remotely like this for you?
No, there's nothing. I mean, you know, typically we stick to, you know, a higher dose of caffeine and things like that, but nothing in this world that has this much influence, I think, physically.
Right.
Have I used it before?
Did you use caffeine this time?
Yeah, and I just used a 200 milligram caffeine tablet.
Okay, it's fine. It's very complimentary. I just was wondering how much you used. All right. Any final thoughts? Is this the real deal?
Yeah, I mean, there's no reason to think that this isn't a major, you know, game changer for my repertoire and for those that start to get their hands on it. But I think, like we mentioned before, it's the pregame of the event is, you know, I think going to be very individualized, and
yeah,
those that perfect that piece of the puzzle will get, you know, the most benefit out of this. So just being able to just take it 15 minutes before, you're not going to become, you know, the Superman. You got to really take care of yourself and get your routine dialed for this thing to really take off.
Well, it took years for people to figure out how much glucose, how much carbs. I mean, that took years for people to perfect. So it's just now super early.
Yeah, it's never going to take some hack and transform him into a competitive racer. We're talking incremental differences.
Yeah, yeah, and I think it takes, you know, the educated guy like you guys been working with Greg Henderson and stuff to, you know, do the right playing around with it to really get that, you know, because 3% for us is a huge gain. That, you know, if I have a 3% advantage over my competitors,
right.
That's massive. So I'm excited for it, and, you know, thank you guys for the opportunity to be one of the first to get my hands on this. And
how does it taste? Let's end on that.
For me, I mean, you know, at the end it's a little bitter, but it washes away fast. But it's not toxic.
Right.
Yeah.
All right.
So
well, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks, guys.
Have a good day.
Yeah, you too. Bye.